The American people don't want that. The American people are explicitly on records.
If the American people were saying what you're saying, Jill Stein, you'd probably have some candidates in Congress, right? How many candidates in Congress do you have, Jill? 0. How many governors do you have? 0. This is the Green Party. They've been around for 23 years. Seats in the Senate? 0. Seats in the House of Representatives? 0. State government? 0. Territorial governments? 0. Is there some dissatisfaction in the political process in America? Absolutely. Does that mean that they want what you're selling? No, because you don't have any political power anywhere. You've not won any elections anywhere. You have nobody at any level inside the system. So they don't have a single member in any of the state legislatures or the territorial legislatures or the governorships or Congress. None. They have 143 members out of 500,000 officials. Those are like school boards, mayors, county election officials, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Nobody in America is voting for these people at any fucking level. But she is on this show insisting that America really wants what they're selling. And now she's trying to pick off the black vote in order to help Trump win, presumably, because she's out there promising reparations that she can't deliver. I'm sorry, but a party that has this little representation, they cannot deliver reparations. She shouldn't be promising it. She shouldn't. She's disgusting for promising it because she's dangling a noodle. And again, I believe there actually should be reparations. But I don't believe that people who can't deliver this shit should be running around promising them in order to hurt a black woman presidential candidate. Like, this is some bullshit, bro. It is a grift, bro. It's a big grift. And it really sucks, too, because you notice she didn't do it in 2020. She didn't do it when there was a man running. She's only doing it because there's women running for president. Isn't that weird? It almost seems to me like Jill Stein is like, if she can't be president, she's going to make sure that no other woman can. I swear to you, dude, she's the white liberal that MLK warned us about. She is. And if you look at her on Twitter, dude, this is the stuff that she's saying. She says, I will end the genocide in Gaza. I will give black people reparations. She will create multiple black Wall Streets across the country. She will fight to end police brutality against black people. That's a white woman with not a single ally in Congress. None. There's not one Green Party candidate. So this white woman, this doctor, internal medicine, white woman, liberal doctor, thinks she's going to give all of this to black people with the U.S. Congress. This guy's like calling her out. Like, this is the normal reaction to a white woman with 0 party members in Congress, in a Congress where, you know, a guy as powerful as Donald Trump that had all these Republicans ready to, like, shoot their own wives for him. They couldn't even get any legislation through. And Jill Stein thinks she's going to do this? Like, if you're not, like, looking at her like she's a goddamn fool, you're crazy. Seriously. You're insane. This is the only reaction that could possibly happen to this woman.
You know, I think we're seeing the two parties basically fail. Well, I think we are seeing the two parties fail to address the healthcare crisis, to address the housing crisis where...
Dude, just hearing her voice, like, she is so unlikable,
50% of all Americans are basically one or two paychecks
I don't trust
away from eviction, can't afford their rent. 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, and this woman with 0 allies in Congress thinks she can do anything about that? Like, we know what the problems are, Jilly. You know what I'm saying, Jill? We're all aware of what the problems are. But the problem is you don't have any clout to be able to change any of that shit. And instead of you working with the people who have the clout to do that, you're being an obstacle and helping Trump
and yet
destroy
half of
everything.
Our congressional budget on the endless war machine. And by the way, the vast majority of Americans want an end to the genocide, as well as a weapons embargo to make that happen. Yet we are not seeing the two major candidates actually address either of these crises, and there's basically an unwritten agreement that we will not address the basically the dominance of Wall Street and the war machine over our economy, over our lives. The voters have basically been thrown under the bus. So it's no wonder that both candidates, I think, what you see largely are people voting against the candidate that they hate the most instead of for the candidate that they want. And I'll just say that my campaign will be doing an after commentary, also addressing the same issues brought up in the election, but from a very different point of view that actually addresses the crises that Americans are facing in every dimension of our lives.
If, though, the majority of Americans shared your view, why would the Green Party not be doing a lot better in the polling?
Well, for one thing, we're not covered by mainstream media, with the exception of, a few minutes here today, and thank you so much for that.
Oh, she's like, we're not covered by the mainstream media, but Jill, let me ask you this, Jill. If you've been running for governor since 2000, 2002, you've run for president, this is now your third time. Why haven't you forged some relationships with the mainstream media? If your goal is to win the presidency, that means networking and forging relationships with the mainstream media and building the infrastructure required to get that type of notoriety, or having a team of Green Party people creating a YouTube channel for the last 10 years. Why have you not done that? This is really shows you the type of person that Jill Stein is. I've called her Trumpian because she is. She doesn't do the work, and then she cries that it's rigged and that everybody's preventing her from getting what she wants. That's her thing. She has no experience, but she thinks she deserves the top job. She promises all this lofty shit, but she doesn't have the political clout to deliver it.
We are systematically suppressed. And let me just say that the Democrats have pulled out all the stops in order to throw us off the ballot. They have their army of lawyers in order to not just deny...
Because you're just disrupting the process.
Voters, what voters have actually been vehemently clamoring for, at record numbers, 63% of Americans are now saying they need other choices. And in this election,
Yeah, but they may feel that way, but none of them are voting for you.
The American voters really want other choices here. Those are being denied. The Democrats have also publicly advertised for infiltrators and spies in order to disrupt our ballot drives, and this is their strategy. They do not want to face us in the court of public opinion, keep us out of debates, keep us out of press coverage, fear campaign, and
nobody is intimidated by the Green Party at all.
Us, so that they can simply eliminate their competition. They are quaking in their boots. They have also
quaking in their boots. No, we're not. We're annoyed. We're annoyed that you show up at critical times to try and sink the Democratic Party only when you're helping Trump, or, showing up being the white woman telling all the black people how unqualified they are. She's literally been trashing AOC, Kamala Harris, powerful women of color who've done what she hasn't, which is they actually win elections. She's going around smearing them all on fucking social media. Right? And just trying to turn people against them for a little bit of grift.
Democrats make promises and then break them, which is basically, driving people into the arms of Donald Trump.
Okay. So she says Democrats make promises and then break them. Hold on. Let's look at Jill Stein's promises. Dude, I don't know, Jill Stein. Those are some pretty fucking big promises. You're going to end the genocide in Gaza. I mean, that shit's been going on for 70 years, but she's going to give black people reparations. She's going to create multiple black Wall Streets across the country. And she's going to end, she didn't say she was going to do it, but she's going to fight to end police brutality against black people. So that's not a case of Jill Stein making promises and trying to win the election? What is she talking about? She's batshit. It's not just me, right? You're seeing this. Dude, what is she talking about?
We are the Breakfast Club.
Because again, she's going after the black vote.
Angela Rye with us this morning, helping us out.
Hello.
And we got some special guests joining us. We have Dr. Jill Stein. Welcome.
Hello.
And Dr. Butch Ware.
Good
Welcome.
morning.
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
We in the building.
Y'all are the Green Party presidential candidate and running mate. Tell the people, what is the Green Party and how are they different from the Democrats and the Republicans?
Well, for one thing, we don't take money from billionaires and bankers and AIPAC and Wall Street and the
And for another thing, they don't have anybody in power at any level of government anywhere.
So we're a people-powered party. That's what makes us totally different. That's what liberates us to actually tell it like it is and to stand up and fight for the people.
Dude, liberates you to promise people shit you can never deliver, right?
For the health care that we need as a human right, for the housing that we need, because half of America right now.
Again, I want to be very clear. I feel like in case anyone's doubting, anybody who doesn't know me here, I actually agree with some of the policy plans of Jill Stein, the Green Party. I agree with Medicare for all. I agree with reparations. I disagree on the Gaza stuff because I do agree that we need to work for peace and a ceasefire and a two-state solution. But I don't believe that disarming Israel would lead to that. I believe that the Palestinian people are in this really complicated situation because we need to save them while simultaneously making sure that Hamas does not get any concessions whatsoever because they want to eradicate the whole country of Israel. Hamas does. And I'm not down with that, me personally. So I agree with a lot of the policy, but the problem is there's an American political system that we have. And so if you really want to change the American political system, you do have to do it from somewhere on the inside. You don't have to have the whole inside, and you can be the outsider on the inside, but you cannot change an ensconced system from the outside. Those are just facts. The change happens in the trenches, and that goes for all of us. If I want to enact political change, I have to run for office and win. You have to acquire the office. So running as a third-party candidate for, 20 years and never winning, you are never going to get policy passed. You are never even going to move the parties that win. You can't move the party that wins by you being a loser. If you run against the Democratic Party and you try to fracture them and they lose, they're not going to go, oh, shit, maybe we need to be more like the Green Party that came in and just fucked us up. No, at that point, they're going to be like, fuck the Green Party. We're never going to work for these guys. Now we're going to make sure they never even get any seats. If there's a Green Party candidate, we're going to run somebody to crush them. So that's the problem is Jill Stein is trying to create the revolution, but she doesn't even know how to be a revolutionary. The Trojan horse, bro. That was the point of the Trojan horse. You got to get inside the goddamn wall. The system's got to be broken from the inside.
The empire is trying to talk you out of your demand right now, but we have that demand. We have the numbers to make the demand. We got the solutions. We've got a system. We have an analysis which actually works, and we got to stand up and make that demand. They're trying to shame you and blame you out of making that demand that belongs to us. Our vote is our power in a democracy. Don't let them talk you out of it. And the second thing is Alice Walker, the novelist and poet, who said the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We got the power if you look at the numbers, if you look at the value.
Dude, if you look at the numbers, she is living in an alternate reality. There's not a single Green Party candidate in Congress, and everyone but two that have been in there, all of them but two in the last 25 years, all got in office because they ran as Democrats. Like, they have no power. They have no representation. She's built no infrastructure. She doesn't spend year in and year out like working to build the Green Party from the ground up. She merely shows up when a woman is running for president or a black person is running for president. If it's a black person or a woman, she shows up and tries to exploit her way in there. Dude, she is so toxic.
We are no longer the dominant power around the world. Power is shifting.
We're no longer the dominant power around the world. Well, who's that then, Jill? Who does she think is the dominant power around the world? Huh, that's interesting.
We need to shift with it. We can no longer be giving marching orders to the rest of the world. We need to stand up like an adult and be part of a global community and a shared power structure.
And if you can just tag me in right here, Jill, I'll go back to the first question, right? How is it different? So when I was evaluating, got called onto the ticket 3 weeks ago, okay? And I had done...
Dude, she added her vice president 3 weeks ago, guys. Okay, think about that. In the middle of August, she adds this guy onto the ticket, a person of color, a guy who's no doubt connected to the pro-Palestine movement. I'm not familiar with him, but I'm sure he is. But so she added him to the ticket. She's she sees an opportunity here. She sees a chance to exploit this for her own gain. And in exchange, though, she's going to f these people over. Anybody who votes for her. The Muslims in Michigan, they may vote for her. And then Trump, if he happens to win as a result of them voting for her, you know what's going to happen? Any of family they have in Palestine aren't even going to be able to come to the U.S. They're going to get locked out by Trump. And anybody who protests against Israel is probably going to go to fucking prison. Or Trump has talked about deporting them if they're, have any foreign blood. She is going to step in, give them this false sense of I got you, we can do this, together we're better, and then they're all going to get completely f***ed over, and she will completely disappear after that. You won't hear from her again.
With Dr. Jill Stein. And I asked her a couple of questions.
Up,
I had just posted a reel where Kamala Harris had been asked about reparations.
Does it mean
Okay, Kamala Harris had been...
He doesn't even know how to pronounce Kamala Harris. What is he fucking talking about, bro? Kamala. Come on, bro. You're going on a fucking podcast representing the Green Party and you're trumping the name. Dude, that's fucking bullshit. Learn how to say her name. It is not that hard to say. But again, the problem is he's going to go into this whole reparations thing. But merely saying you're going to give people reparations, don't give people reparations. And Jill Stein, a white woman, right, with no political clout, not a single party member in Congress. We're going to find out later she doesn't even know how many people are in Congress. She thinks there's 600 people in the House of Representatives.
How many voting members in the United States House of Representatives, Republican, Democrat, and Independent? How many total?
How many total are there? What is it? 600 some?
No, it's 435.
She doesn't even know how the government is structured, right? But what we do know is she has 0 allies in Congress. But she's walking around promising black people reparations. It's are you fucking shitting me? That's an insult to black people, to have a white woman walking around promising reparations when you know you can't deliver? Goddamn, bro.
We need to be raising the floor for schools across the country. Why should the quality of your school depend on luxury housing in your community? Schools should not depend only on property taxes from housing. The federal government should be in the business of raising the floor so that we have a common standard across the country.
Dude, again, nobody's going to argue with that point. Of course, schools being funded by property taxes favors the wealthy neighborhoods, of course, right? She does have great points, but the problem is she's not actually doing the work that would allow her great points to happen. What she's doing is she's going out and making a great point and then grifting off a situation in Gaza, so Trump potentially is going to, the only result that's going to happen is she has no chance of winning. The only result that may happen with her is either Kamala wins despite her, or Trump wins and then the entire Department of Education is gone and we have tax dollars going to fund wealthy people to put their kids in private schools. So Jill Stein, if you actually believe this shit, why are you behaving in a way that guarantees it never comes to pass. And not only that, if Trump wins, there's going to be a Supreme Court that will overturn any of these good ideas, even if 40 years from now, somebody who's competent, unlike you, actually achieves this shit and gets it passed into law. Like, goddamn, see, that's what pisses me off, is it's not about the fact that you don't make good points. It's the fact that you're not doing the work that would allow these good points to happen, which is becoming a coalition of the party that can actually win elections.
By appearing in a forum like this, what is going to happen is we're going to get on a debate stage. And when this woman goes up on the debate stage, exactly, well, who knows? But the point is that as soon as we are in the mainstream media conversation, exactly, we have a watch party tonight.
You guys have a response.
We will be doing a response.
Did not meet the qualifications for ABC.
Incorrect.
The qualifications established by an exclusionary framework whose goal is to silence and throw.
Dude, they only needed 15% of the vote to get on that debate stage. That ABC debate, I believe it was 15%. You had to poll above 15%. That ain't much, bro. Like, holy shit. You shouldn't be on that debate stage if you're polling 1% of the vote, 2% of the vote. Like, why should you? Right? Why should you even be there? You know what I mean? That means nobody wants your voice. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro.
Off the ballot.
That's what it is.
Options
I think it's a
for
15%
voters.
Threshold.
It is
for you to be polling it at least
15%.
15%.
Well, before that, there wasn't a 15% threshold. When this
That's
was run,
pretty consistent.
when it was run by the League of Women Voters, before it was hijacked by the private corporations of the Democratic and Republican parties, before they were in charge, it was whether or not you actually were going to be a choice for enough voters across the country that you could potentially win the election. So we have satisfied that criteria, the basic criteria. I mean,
Dude,
as a voter, because polls
she's
are
mental.
fulfilling. They are self-fulfilling prophecies. If you're in the poll, as determined by whatever, private polling agency, if you are in the polls, people are going to know about you. If you're not even being polled, people won't know.
They do not predict outcomes, they produce them.
And if people are saying, if people are screaming for other choices, don't they have a right to hear those other choices?
I think they do, but I think that what you have are people that need a certain level of validity to the campaign.
Yes.
You will not
Thank
hear
you.
Donald Trump or Kamala Harris tonight on this debate stage saying, "Hey, it's not just about us winning. Winning is everything." And even if
Dude, I love her, dude. I seriously do.
a multi-party democracy is great. That's not what we have. We have a binary choice between.
Well,
That's not
you
in
may
the
say so,
Constitution.
but the
So
American,
hold on.
it's not in the Constitution. And the American people, the American people don't want that. The American people are explicitly on record.
If the American people were saying what you're saying, Jill Stein, you'd probably have some candidates in Congress. How many candidates in Congress do you have, Jill? 0. Is there some dissatisfaction in the political process in America? Absolutely. Does that mean that they want what you're selling? No, because you don't have any political power anywhere. You've not won any elections anywhere. Jill Stein does not have enough political capital to get anything passed.